Hi, this is Mallory. I'm trying to work on my public speaking skills, so I thought I'd practice by making a video. I'm talking to you all from Lansing, Michigan, the capital of Michigan. It was a beautiful day today, but we won't get into that. One of the things on my mind lately that I've been wanting to talk about is the idea of incubus or incubi and succubi. The ideas I'm presenting are just based upon my subjective experience. I'm trying to be as objective about it as possible, but these ideas are based upon my subjective experience, and my cat is hanging out off camera. Anyways, I personally have had an experience with an incubus, and it was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. The last experience I had that seemed to be an incubus encounter happened, I want to say back in 2012. I believe I was 29 at the time. And the last time it happened before that was in my early 20s. And it's a pretty horrifying experience. It's hard to say what these sort of things can be. I've, over the years, done a fair amount of research online and heard, different perspectives. One idea I have for a potential explanation for the experience is that perhaps these entities that are seemingly attacking us or latching onto us in incubi or succubi encounters, perhaps they are actually just our own wandering astral bodies trying to reconnect with our human body. I don't know, perhaps they got lost in the time-space continuum and popped out somewhere and found our body and tried to force ourselves back into our body, and if our body wasn't ready for it, it could be pretty upsetting and disturbing, I'm guessing. I'm sure there's more rational explanations for it. I've heard the stuff about sleep paralysis and hallucinations, and I think that's great. But beyond that, I essentially think of incubus or incubi and succubi to be what I might call lower vibrational entities, entities that exist on a lower vibration in regards to the spectrum of energy and how it manifests itself in physical and or spiritual terms, thinking maybe of the spirit as being one end of the spectrum, sort of, and flesh being at the other end of the spectrum. I think of succubi and incubi as being pretty dense entities that are trapped in a sort of cycle. It's hard to say what created the cycle for them, whether it be a traumatic experience that perhaps created a dissociation, or whether it be someone who is actually projecting their astral body and preying upon other people in a manipulative way. That's another potential explanation, I feel like, for incubi and succubi encounters. I think actually, little warning here, gonna talk about some personal information, but I think a lot of times people underestimate the power of the imagination in fantasy, and I think it's somewhat common for people to fantasize about each other, and if someone has a strong, powerful imagination, I think it's possible they might be able to cast out incubus or succubis while fantasizing about others, especially if things like masturbation is involved, because if you're masturbating and holding an image in your mind, you are sort of essentially practicing sex magic. Some people are more good at it than others. For the record, personally, I'm very mindful about fantasizing at this point in time. In my 20s, I definitely fantasized about boys in my life, mostly a fair amount, but at this point in time, I am really careful about not fantasizing about people unless I have permission from them, because I get concerned that I could be invading on someone's astral and psychic space if I were to fantasize about them without their permission. So I think with the incubi and succubi energy, you'll notice like it's a very dense, lower vibrational energy that's very cyclic. I want to say I'm trying to sense it and put it into words. It's like a being stuck on repeat, pretty much, like dun 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 dun. An obsessive compulsion almost. And it seems like for some people that compulsion is again fed by sexual energy. People are obsessively fantasizing about other people in their lives. And then I think maybe for other people it could be less sexual, that they're more like stuck in that vibrational frequency because they're stuck in other cycles that may not have to do with sexual obsession so much, just more of like an intense, repetitive, cyclic cycle. So I think it's personally not a very, I want to say, healthy frequency to remain in for long. Some people are stuck in it and they can't help it. For me, I feel like I've had experience with slipping into that perspective and also moving away from it, so I feel like I can to some extent understand both sides of this perspective. But for me, in having slipped into that perspective before, I find like it's not a healthy space to dwell on a regular basis. And like one of the few ways I find that slipping into that vibrational frequency, if that makes sense, one of the few ways that I find that it can be helpful at this point in time is if you're perhaps reaching out to other entities stuck within that frequency and want to try to guide them towards a higher vibration and frequency if they seem open to it. For me at this point in time, I suggest though being very careful when it comes to helping spiritual entities that seem to be stuck. Especially if those entities don't seem to want your help, and even if they do, those situations can be very draining with time. Even if none of the parties involved are malicious, they can still be draining. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if I really have much more to say about it than that at this point. That's some of my thoughts on incubi and succubi. And I thought about maybe talking about my thoughts on Lilith some in this video, but since I'm already 8 minutes in, I think I'll wrap it up and leave it at that, and I can talk about my thoughts on Lilith another time. I hope everyone is having a great fall evening and staying warm and cozy and comfortable wherever you are. I love you all. Mwah. Bye.